Star Citizen Alpha 3.24 might not be the most gameplay-enriched patch ever. It's probably not even worth the .x patch if I'm being honest. It's more of a 3.23.2. I mean, that's what it was originally. But the new cargo update and physicalization of inventory plus persistent and instanced hangars and the new Blockaed Runner event are all really important next steps for Star Citizen's development and in preparation for the upcoming 4.0 release later this year. So let's dive in and take a look at what all of this is going to mean for the technical progress of Star Citizen, how it will affect the way that you play, and highlight some features that are great additions, as well as talk about why they have removed one of the headline features from the patch in favor of a redesign. So as always, if you think I did a good job by the end and you think I deserve it, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It really does help a lot to support the channel. At the core of the changes to 3.24 are the changes to the way inventory works, both for large items as well as your small personal items that you use to equip your character. Up until now, we've been able to withdraw personal inventory items virtually anywhere within a location that has a local inventory simply by hitting I. But CIG, the developers of Star Citizen, have always sought to go further to make a much more immersive and diegetic system where you access your inventory through systems found in the world that feels more like a real-world interface. And those interfaces in 3.24 come in the form of freight elevators and personal inventory kiosks. The personal inventory kiosks are meant to be used for your personal character items like weapons and armor, and smaller equipable items like med pens and even things like water bottles to keep yourself hydrated. To access them, instead of hitting I, you'll now go up to a kiosk either located in your hab or scattered about a space station or landing zone, and use it where you'll be presented with the old-fashioned paper doll system that we've had up until now. Originally, there was a bespoke UI associated with it where you drag and drop items to a drawer and then open the drawer and then equip it from the drawer, but this was since removed after some testing in the BTU based on player feedback where some felt that it added a bit too much friction to the experience. I was included among those people, by the way. As far as we know right now, the current plan is to go back and redesign the way that we interface with our inventory to make it flow a bit better. But the way that it's physicalized and that you have to access it through a given location is going to remain the same. Thankfully, this effort was not wasted because the same system was leveraged for the freight elevators. Freight elevators then are for accessing larger items, even though they can still access things as small as a water bottle if you so wish. So think cargo boxes or large ship weapons. You'll find them then on outposts, on space stations, and on landing zones. Access the kiosk adjacent to the freight elevator where you'll see a new UI system. On the right side, you'll see the locations inventory, which you can filter by item or even use the search function if it's working in the release. To withdraw the items into the physical space, you first need to send the cargo elevator down below, then drag the items from the right screen onto the cargo lift on the left, and then hit the button to send the elevator back up again where you'll find the items that you've selected. But while CIG are trying to achieve a more diegetic universe with these technical updates in 3.24, they also enable the next two features in Star Citizen which are worth talking about in this next patch: cargo missions and persistent hangars. Beginning with personal persistent hangars, now you can call your ships and vehicles, pull cargo and items from your inventory, as well as decorate your home location landing zone from the comfort of your own hangar, which will for this first release come in two different flavors, AeroView and Self-Lens Style, which some long-time backers will probably recognize as two of the four original styles of hangars that were introduced so long ago. This first release though won't allow you to choose which style you start with, so you'll have to choose either New Babbage or Orison if you want the AeroView style, leaving Lorville and ArcCorp for the industrial Self-Lens style. The process of accessing these is a little bit different than what we've had in the past. After you exit your hab and head over to the spaceport, you can now skip the original ASOP terminals if you prefer and go straight to the elevator doors where you'll see a single hangar with your name on it alongside the size of said hangar. The size of the hangar will be determined by the largest ship that you own, including ships that are currently still in concept. So if you say own a Polaris, you're going to be getting an extra large hangar even if the Polaris is not out yet. And you may also notice at this point that there are no longer any numbered hangars aside from docking ports or pads if you're on a station. This is because these hangars are now instanced. This is in preparation for the upcoming 4.0 release, with server meshing allowing CIG to have a virtual unlimited number of personal player hangars within a given landing zone or space station. As a side effect of this, you may encounter a queue for either takeoff or landing, as there's only a limited number of doors through which to access a player's personal hangar. If you're concerned about security though, don't worry. If somebody's not in your party, then they can't see your personal hangar. So there's no way for players to get into other players' hangars anymore without being on the elevator with them when they travel to it. And even if somebody manages to get on board the elevator with you to make it to your hangar, you're now also able to pull out your weapon and neutralize them without consequence for trespassing. And if they manage to get past you without you being able to stop them, they'll be forcibly removed if they don't leave. Personally, I kind of wish they'd solve this with a redesign of the hangars themselves to give them a security airlock, returning to the process after you access the hangar then and journey down. At the entrance, you'll notice in both design styles an ASOP terminal platform as well as a personal inventory kiosk set. This allows you to both pull out ships directly from the comfort of your hangar and make last-minute adjustments to your character's loadout. But choosing to use the ASOP terminal directly in your new persistent hangar is probably one of the coolest parts of the new design. Instead of a ship just appearing out of nowhere, now a massive set of doors will open and a platform will rise from below, revealing your ship in an epic presentation, complete with a whole light show and sound to boot. And if you venture a little bit further into your hangar, you'll find freight elevators on either corner regardless of the size you've been assigned. As already mentioned earlier, this is where you can retrieve large personal inventory items from the local inventory and place them about, which at one point included vehicles, but unfortunately that didn't work for some reason in a prior Evocati patch and had to be pushed to a future patch when they're able to fix those issues. For now then, as a stopgap, we can pull out vehicles directly from the ship elevator and place them on the side of the hangar for further use. But what makes this a persistent hangar now is that anything you leave on the hangar floor, so long as it's not touching the ship elevator, will remain exactly where you left it. Persistence though will only happen at your home hangar for now. In the future, you'll be able to buy personal hangars in other locations, but for the time being, it's only your home starting point. Leaving items out in any other location will result in them being stored after you leave the hangar. Which leads me to decorating and customizing your hangar. That's right, Star Citizen's long-awaited hangar flare and decoration stuff is finally available in-game for us to set about the hangar in some limited fashion. CIG haven't gone through the entire backlog of flare that's accumulated over the years, so just don't be surprised too much if some of them don't work, but for the most part, some of them are placeable. And you'll also find a brand new set of additional decorations available in Kelto and Dumper's Depot, found in each of the landing zones that you're able to start in. This initial selection though is limited, and I sense that's because this was more of a side addition to the patch as opposed to a main feature, which is why you probably won't see it in the patch notes as a primary feature. Now you can set up cozy little living spaces complete with chairs and tables and even happy potted plants if you've got some in your inventory. But this is very much a tier 0 implementation, so there are some issues with it. For example, some of the decorations don't have any functionality, like the shelves. There's no way for you to place anything on them. You can also bump them over simply by walking past them, since some of them don't have the correct mass set. And for those decorations you can place together, well, Star Citizen's physics engine still probably needs a little bit of work, especially when it comes to having a high latency server. But the real benefit of this system comes in that you can place items out that you think you want to use in the future so that you can pick them up quickly on your way to do a mission. And to that end, it looks like CIG are working on things like weapon racks and clothing racks and armor stands for us to place all of our sets to be visually identifiable and easily accessible in a more physical manner for future patches. But if there's a feature that highlights just how big of a change this new inventory system is in Star Citizen, it's probably cargo missions. How it works is that if you access your mission tab, you'll now see a new section for hauling. Here, you'll initially be given a trial mission to see whether or not you're reliable, and if you pass it, you'll start gaining reputation with the given faction to where you'll eventually get enough to get more and more lucrative missions, going from small and eventually to large contracts with lots and lots of boxes for high profit. Once you take a mission, you'll be given a location to go pick up the cargo and a location to drop it off. The cargo will already be at the location waiting for you to pick it up. You don't have to purchase it as part of the contract. Once you arrive, you go to the kiosk for the freight elevator, select the mission cargo, drag it onto the freight elevator, bring it up, and then manually load it onto your ship's cargo grid. You'll then travel to the location designated by the contract and offload the cargo into the next freight elevator. The profits of each of these missions is determined by the amount of time it takes to load, travel, and offload the cargo, and how much cargo you need to transfer. So CIG has continued to adjust these prices to make sure it makes sense for players to participate in this loop. The effect of this, though, is that being skilled at loading your ship will increase your profits, as you'll be able to increase the efficiency in which you're able to do these contracts. So I think it's a great addition to this loop that adds a bit more interest to it than just going to a terminal, pressing load, and then going to your ship and flying about. I'm sure some people will still prefer the automated way, and that's why they still have automated loading with a timer if you want to do it that way, only it's not going to work with cargo missions in this first release. And these missions are accompanied by a big effort by CIG to streamline shipping into much more logical routes based on the chain of distribution. To explain it simply, small mining outposts now send small loads to distribution centers, where medium-sized loads are accumulated and sent from said distribution centers to orbital stations, where even greater quantities are then shipped from station to station or even station to jump point onto other parts of the universe. Consequently, this breaks down shipments into small, medium, and large contracts, giving functional purpose to different sized cargo vessels that we've not had up until this point. No longer then is the biggest ship for cargo hauling simply the best. It's now more about what ship is best suited for the contract at hand to be most efficient. But this new cargo loading system isn't just being leveraged for missions, there's also a brand new event that's also leveraging them in a pretty interesting way. If you've been a fan of Xenothreat but wanted something on a bit smaller of a scale, then you might enjoy the new Blockade Runner dynamic event coming at an LEO station near you. The backstory of the event is that pirates have blockaded and raided a station for its lucrative zetaprolinite, forming a fighter-enforced barrier to prevent citizens from docking or leaving. Players are tasked with jumping on several locations where pirates are trying to make away with the stolen goods, where you'll need to destroy the pirate escorts and cargo ship to take back the loot. The cool thing about this dynamic event is that we're finally fighting active, defended ships instead of pre-destroyed wrecks to get the cargo. Though this also means that the cargo can be destroyed if you're not careful if the wreck takes too much damage, so you'll need to destroy ships and then watch your trigger finger. Once loaded, you'll need to then fight your way through the blockade at the source station and resupply it, and unlike the last version, they're actually in sufficient numbers and close enough to the station to actually blockade it. I believe there is a stage beyond this, but I'm not sure what it's like, as I wasn't able to experience the whole set of missions because it was a little broken on the PTU, so I'm looking forward to trying this out when it releases. Whatever the end might be though, it looks incredibly fun, and I'm excited to see what you guys theorycraft about on how to best approach this. One thing I can say for certain is that it isn't exactly a combat-free event like some of us were hoping, so come prepared. Aside from these major features, there were also a number of smaller quality of life changes, such as the addition of a binding key to carry your weapon lowered, which is a blessing for FPS players who don't want to flag their teammates as they unconsciously sweep their weapons past them. Not great for weapon safety. Combat pilots across Stanton will also enjoy a new level of customizability when using Enhanced Stick Precision or ESP. An option in the settings will now allow you to adjust the dampening strength when passing your crosshair over a target, essentially changing how much it will slow down. Hopefully, this will give players with different stick configurations and resistances the ability to tune the ESP strength to their liking. And a number of ships have received some Master Mode changes to make them fly a little bit better. And unfortunately, no, it's not going away for those of you who really hate it. Thankfully, gimbals of ships are receiving a global buff, increasing their health across the board. Atmospheric flight will also feel a little bit more free for some ships, y'all, such as with the Anvil Hornet. Stealth ships are getting an improvement to their detection range, so their emissions have been reduced, and this will hopefully make ships like the Prowler a bit more effective in landing troops in combat zones at Jumptown or Ghost Hollow. Overall then, 3.24 is bringing in some long-awaited physicalization to cargo and player inventories, but it probably doesn't have the longest legs on it for a patch. That's why I'm not so sure it deserved to be called a full .x patch. It is very much a follow-up to 3.23. But what about you guys? What are you looking forward to in 3.24? Or are you just still waiting for the 4.0 release? I think a lot of you, judging by the poll I recently did, are probably in that camp, but I'm still interested to know your thoughts. So let me know down below, and as always, if you like this video, you know what to do, and if you wanted to support me further, I have a Patreon where you can have a chance to get your code featured here in my video and get a few extra ships from the referral program. That's it for now. See you in the next one.